I'm just going to probably have to cut short what I had prepared for and try and keep it crisp. I'm going to take cue from some of the points that the morning speakers, the elite speakers who spoke in the morning, I'm going to take cue from that and build on some of those points, and let's see if we can take away some practical tips. Many times I've seen many of these events, we get to hear a lot about 30,000 feet level principles, but how do you apply that in your day-to-day life? So let's see whether we can take away some simple tips that you can probably start practicing from today. Before I start, I first want to thank CII IWN. I want to thank Vanita for having me here today. I met Vanita in Coimbatore a couple of months back, and I had shared my book with her. She gave me a very heartwarming feedback on my book, and she invited me to come and share my thoughts and my insights, whatever little knowledge that I have. I've been in the corporate for the last 24 years, 24 plus years, and after this, I worked with organizations like IBM, HP, Samsung was my last job. 2016, I took a sabbatical, I took a break. And I did a voluntary project with a NGO that is very close to my heart, the Akshaya Patra Foundation, which does the midday meal program. So I did a project with them, and after I finished the project, I had this door open, whether I should go back to the corporate world or whether I should start something on my own. And I think the entrepreneurial bug was there in me for a long time. So I said, okay, 24 years of experience, lots of pains, lots of ups and downs. It's not been an easy journey, especially being a woman. So what do I do with all this experience? Is there something that I can do? Can I create a platform where I'll be able to share this with more number of people like myself who have struggled, or youngsters who come into the, the millennials and the Gen Zs who are coming now? Can I share some of these principles and practices with them, which they can take away and probably, if their learning curve can get cut short, even a little bit, I think I've done my job. So keeping this in mind, I started my entrepreneurial journey. By the way, I've kept my timer so that I'm on time. The first step I took to be able to share my experiences is I wrote this book called Women on Board. It took me about 21 days to write this book. How did I write a book in 21 days? How? Actually, I didn't tell you the story before that. I was struggling for 8 months to write this book. And they call the writer's block, whatever. I met my mentor, Dr. Marshall Goldsmith. You've heard of Dr. Marshall Goldsmith? Yeah, thanks a lot. He's, one of the renowned, the world's #1 leadership coach. I met him last year, February, in Mumbai. I just happened to meet him, actually. I met his assistant. I asked for 15 minutes of his time because there was something that I was struggling with, which I was not able to figure. I wasn't able to point a finger to it. So I met him for about 50. I asked for 15 minutes of his time, but he ended up spending about 2.5 hours with me. And I think that was my life-changing experience. After I met him, I finished the book in 21 days. What is it that he said to me that removed that block or that issue that I was having, or that, seemingly that unknown barrier that I had in my head? He said, women, Deepa, do great stuff. They do a lot of good stuff, and they do it to, sometimes to perfection also. But you know what women lack that we men do very well? They don't know how to market themselves. They don't know how to talk about their achievements. They don't know how to position themselves well. This is one skill that I think you should pick up. This is what he told me. And there's another thing that he told me. He said, knowledge, Deepa, is never meant to be held back. Just give it out, free. Just let that knowledge flow. Share whatever you have had, whatever experiences that you have had without inhibitions. That is how you'll be able to contribute to another individual's success. The moment you start thinking about contribution, you have already sown the seeds of success of your own life, of your journey. right? So based on a lot of these, I've had a lot of mentors. And working with people like Marshall Goldsmith, Dr. David Wolfe is also my mentor. Dr. David Wolfe is a very famous psychologist from America. He has written the foreword for my book. Dr. David Wolfe also has transformed me a lot as a person. The good thing about working with such personalities, find mentors for yourselves, ladies, and not one mentor, multiple mentors. I think this is one point someone else touched upon in the morning also. When you work with these kind of personalities, it makes you very humble. Humility is the foundation on which success has to be built, right? So, I want to talk today about success mindset for successful networking. A lot of people spoke about networking, how to network, why women, struggle to network. So let's talk about the mindset and the principles of networking. What is it? Before you are able to network successfully, there are certain things, certain elements that you need to work on at the back end. What are those elements? That's what I want to talk about today. Yeah? Someone spoke about mindset also in the morning, right? So none of these points that I'm speaking about is new to any one of you, I'm sure. But I'm just going to try and throw light from a different perspective on these points. Carol Dweck, Professor Carol Dweck, who's a Harvard psychology professor, talks about two types of mindset: the fixed mindset and the growth mindset. In fixed mindset, I think that I know everything, I have learned, I have reached this stage of my life, right? So I'm not very open to learning. Growth mindset is where I know that there's a beautiful saying which says, the purpose of knowledge is to actually realize that I don't know much. It's a very deep saying if you actually dwell on it. Yeah? So the people who have the growth mindset are open to constant learning. That enthusiasm inside them is never, it never dies, right? And their motivation, they never depend on any external motivation factors. Their motivation is intrinsic. Yeah? So skill set and mindset. Many times in the corporate world I've seen people focus on developing their skills. They work very hard on working, their skills, this training program, that workshop, great. But it's the mindset that you need to fix first before working on your skill set. So what's the connect? The mindset is like your operating system. And your skill set are like your apps. What is the use of apps if you don't have an operating system on your phone? Right? So the mindset is the most important aspect of our personal growth. The moment we work on our mindset, work on the, the self aspect, a lot of other aspects in our ecosystem that we operate in become clear to us. Yeah? So networking skills work best if you have an entrepreneurial or intrapreneurial mindset. Entrepreneurship is not only for business people. Today's world, it's called as the VUCA world, right? So I'll come to the VUCA part. So what is entrepreneurship or intrapreneurship at its core? It's actually a mindset again. And it's how you collaborate with people, how you connect with people, how you're contributing to the world. This is what entrepreneurship is all about. Now, and it centers around networking principles, how well you network with people. Yeah? Why do you need entrepreneurial skills for networking? What's the connect? What am I talking about? You need entrepreneurial skills or intrapreneurial skills. What's the difference between entrepreneurship and intrapreneurship? Within an organization, when you exhibit your entrepreneurial skills, that's called as entrepreneurship. Now today, if you take today's VUCA world, what is VUCA? Volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. We are operating, whether we like it or not, today we are operating in a VUCA world. And if you want to sustain, Shalini mentioned about resilience, you have to be resilient. You have to work like an entrepreneur. How do entrepreneurs work? They don't wait for things to be told. When they have to run their business and make the business successful, they will do whatever it takes. Now, can you work with the same kind of a mindset in your corporate environment? That is what will set you apart from the rest of the people who don't do that. You're operating in a VUCA world. You need to operate with this kind of a mindset. So what's a VUCA world? We covered this. The common leadership challenges in the VUCA world were listed by KPMG in a survey, right? I will skip this and talk about a research that my organization did. I have a brand called Success Harvest, and I have a lot of researchers who work for me. And I'm also doing a lot of research around emotional intelligence for leaders in the University of Hawaii under Dr. David Wolf. These are the 10 skills that organizations look for when they hire people. Right? This was based on a survey that was done for about 20 companies. I have marked some skills in red. Take a note of that, okay? Now, here is the list of skills that leaders need to build, and this was a result of a survey that was done by KPMG. Again, take a look at the stuff that is marked in red, okay? Now, this is the entrepreneurial framework of a survey that was done by World Bank. In terms of the key skills, the traits or the attitudes, and the action items that individuals need to work on to be successful as an entrepreneur. Again, here there are some points that are marked in red. Can anyone tell me why those, some of these skills or attributes were marked in red? Any line or any commonalities you see? Yeah? Absolutely. Thank you so much for that. The ones that are in red, that were marked in red in all these 3 surveys. So for us, in my organization, doing that survey was actually, the results that came out was actually a corroboration of what the World Bank report and KPMG report said. So inherently, organizations are looking for people who have worked on certain skills which are actually intrinsic. So, which brings me to the point that we all have 3 primary fields of action that we work on. Yeah, the intrapersonal, the interpersonal or the social level, and then comes the professional. What's happening today is that many of us, or many people I see, they're focusing a lot on their professional success, working on their skills, working very hard, 12, 14 hours a day, which I don't say is wrong, but if you have not addressed the intrapersonal level, the skills or the attitudes or attributes that you need to work on, and the interpersonal skills that you need to pick up, essentially your intrapersonal and interpersonal are components of your emotional intelligence. Today, progressive organizations are looking for leaders who have emotional intelligence. And emotional intelligence today is not an option. Right? How you work, how balanced and composed you are, and how you connect with people in your ecosystem is a very, very crucial skill for people to move up the ladder and become successful leaders. So organizations are looking for this. So how do you work on all these aspects? At the core of this, sorry, what's that? Sorry, how much? Okay, yeah, sure. At the core of this are our multiple intelligences. Right? IQ, EQ, UQ. What's UQ? Universal intelligence. It's also called spiritual intelligence. And PQ. Someone touched upon, taking care of yourself, your physical body, as one of the points. Some speaker touched upon this. Physical intelligence. I see a lot of people, a lot of youngsters, by the time they're about 35, 36, they're actually poised for a great, career progression, but the body is not cooperating. Hormonal challenges, diabetes or pre-diabetic condition, cholesterol, stuff like that. So did those challenges happen overnight? No. The body keeps giving out signals. How do you read those signals? That is physical intelligence, right? If you have to be successful today, you need to work on all these 4 intelligences. Your IQ, EQ, UQ, and PQ. Otherwise, you are poised for a great success story. Body is not cooperating for your success, right? So, important to work on all these 3 primary fields of action. I cover a lot of these points in terms of how do you work on these aspects? What are the, I'll just quickly browse through this. I'm not going to explain that. So there are a lot of tips in terms of, on the intrapersonal level. Many times we talk about do's, but what we don't talk about are the don'ts. There is something called as the 6 U's of the unsuccessful self, or 6 U's that obstruct us from getting, sustainable success. And I think these are something that, I'm going to leave this thought with you, because this is something that all of us have to ponder about. Do I have an unteachable spirit? So self-awareness, introspection becomes very, very critical. Do I have an unfocused mind? Multitasking. How many of you believe multitasking is important? How many of you think it works? Multitasking, my dear friends, is a myth. Dr. Clifford Nass, who is a professor of psychology in Stanford, has done extensive research over the last 12 years, and I use a lot of his work in my research. He talks about multitasking. It's a myth, actually. What we think as multitasking is our brain toggling between 2 tasks at a very rapid pace. What happens is, over a period of time, the brain actually tires out, and it makes us less and less and less productive over a period of time. We don't even realize it. It's because we've been multitasking for so long. So multitasking is not a good thing. Prioritize. Keep your focus on one task at a time, right? Unkept promises, yeah, I'm done. Unforgiveness, unwise associations. They say, right? Tell me who your friends are, I'll tell you who you are. Unwise associations, unguarded talk. Words cannot be taken back. So be very measured and very careful in the way you connect with people. Yeah? The key aspect of mindset transformation is self-awareness. The intrapersonal aspect I talk about is some of the skills that you can work on, and you can rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10. How do you rate on these skills? Yeah? How composed are you? Composure, very, very important. Organizations measure individuals on this when they want to promote them. How good is your influencing skills or your coaxing ability? Yeah? Empathy. Paralinguistics. Communication is not just about what I'm saying, it's about how I talk, the tone of my voice, my body language. All this is very important. Listening skills, right? My boss, Vanita Narayan, who used to be the ex-MD of IBM, she used to tell me, Deepa, attitude always trumps aptitude, right? Your attitude is more important. Aptitude you can always pick up over a period of time. Yeah. Then you come to your professional part, and I want to leave you with this thought, the last slide. A World Bank, UNCTAD, an ILO report said that there are 4 areas. This survey was done for women, but I personally believe that this applies for both genders. Today, if you want to be successful as an entrepreneur or as an entrepreneur in the corporate setup, these are the 4 aspects you need to work on. How customer-centric you are. So do you use things like design thinking in the way you address a problem or the way you address a project? Do you have, ladies, I think this is one thing that every woman should work on, increase her financial literacy. Understand how to prepare business cases, how to be able to present a project like it is your own business, right? You need to work on your financial literacy to be a very good, to make a good presentation on your financial business case, basically. Enhanced competency in leadership, bargaining and negotiation skills. This is something, difference between bargaining and negotiation. You need both. Absolutely. Bargaining is more of a transaction. Negotiation is more relational. Based on this, there was one last thought that I want to share. What do you think is inherent difference between the way women network and men network? Yeah. Correct. Any other thoughts? Oh, okay. That's an interesting perspective. Any other thoughts? Sorry? Okay. Okay. There was a research done by professor of Harvard. I can't recall her name. Dr. McCraw. She did a research on the inherent difference, and there's a book, if anyone's interested, called Business Networking and Sex. And no, it's not what you think it is. It talks about the inherent difference between the business networking capabilities of men and women. Right? In that, they say most of the times, men are very transactional in the way they network, and women are relational. So actually, we already possess the requisite skills and the abilities to network better. You just need to put it to practice by developing on your intrapersonal and interpersonal skills. I'll leave you with a thought if there is any question. Yeah, one question probably. Yes. Yes, sir.
Factor for success.
Absolutely. I completely agree with you. And my mentor, Marshall Goldsmith, has also said this to me in person. He said, Deepa, there is another queue. Actually, there are lots of queues. If we actually start discussing about the number of queues that are there, we wouldn't have that much time. But there's one more very important queue called the GQ. Any guesses what it is? The generosity quotient. How someone spoke about giving, right? You spoke about giving. Gratitude, generosity, all these are very, very important attributes to develop. Gratitude is the foundation. So, being thankful for what we have sets the foundation for us to get the higher, the richer blessings of the universe. So that's what I wanted to share. Thank you.